Welcome back to video number 3. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to update the functionality so we actually have a working app using only our local React state. So we want to first start this off by converting this into an arrow function. And this is just a personal preference of mine, like dealing with arrow functions. They look a little bit cleaner and it just looks a little bit nicer to me. So now that we have that out of the way, let's start talking about the intended functionality of this app. So we essentially have three things going on. We have our state count, which is right here. And then we have our modifier buttons up here as well as up here. So these are our add count buttons, and this is our reset count button. And the only difference between these two buttons would be the amount that gets added to our count. So this seems pretty straightforward and simple, and it's a great way to get into starting to use React hooks. Now, you may have heard of React hooks, and in this video, I'm going to show you a very simple use case for it, which is using and updating our count. So let's do that by calling in or importing in one of the hooks that React itself comes with called useState. And the way we use state in a functional component is we just destructure out what we need and rename it to what we want. So we're going to use our state right here. And we're going to destructure out two things. One is our state that we're going to call count. And then two is the modifier function for it, which we're going to call set count. Oops, cannot type today. And then finally, we want to add in our initial state in this parameter, and let's just call it 0. So just to recap, we have our value for our state right here, which is count, and then we have the modifier function for which is called set count. Now, set and whatever comes after it is the standard naming convention for using React hooks. So, for instance, if we have something to do, we're like doing like a Twitter app or something, and we have something called user, and we want to update that user info, we do something like set user. And then in here, we have a use state, and then in the initial state would be like an empty object or something like that. So again, you want to use set and then whatever your value variable is after that to declare your modifier function. So now let's start actually using this count variable. So it's very easy. So instead of doing like this dot state dot blah blah blah, we simply have this count variable up here, and we'll just call it here. And this is the congrats right here. So hopefully this turns to 0. Perfect. And again, if our initial amount was 10, it would be 10. Perfect. So let's do that to the total count as well. Great. Awesome. So now what we want to do is start creating our functions that update the count. And we want to connect those to these guys right here. So what we want to do is create an arrow function called add amount. In there, we have an argument that has a parameter of do amount. And in here, we simply call our set count function. And inside of it, we do our count plus the amount that we want to add to it. And it's as simple as that. So now what we want to do is we want to call this in our buttons on the on click. And in here, we want to create an anonymous function and call that, and then add the appropriate amounts. So in here, we want to call 5, and in here, we want to call 10. Just give this a little bit more space. And perfect. So let's see if that works. Awesome. So we're seeing that it's incrementing it by the count, and it's updating the count right here and right here. That's really cool. Sweet. So now what we want to do is add the reset amount functionality. So right now it does nothing. So let's do the same thing here. Let's create an error function called reset amount. And in here, we are just going to set count to 0. And you'll notice that we're using hard-coded values of 0 right here and right here. And ideally, you want to avoid that. Of course, most apps you're going to be making aren't going to be 40 lines long. They're going to be much larger, much more complex. And for that reason, it's generally best practice to have an initial state value. Clear it up here. And then we can simply change this to initial state. And I believe we spelled initial wrong. So let's state. It's, okay. It's initial, not intitial. Perfect. Okay. Cool. So now let's call this guy right here. So on click, we just do reset amount. And now we have 50, 60, blah, blah, and then we can reset to 0. Awesome. What I'd like to do now is just add a quick alert or confirm window to make sure that the user knows that they deliberately want to reset the amount. So that's very easy. We're just going to do call what's a window object called confirm. And if the user confirms it, then we're going to go ahead and run the set count function. So the confirm takes an argument of message. So let's just call message and declare message right above it. Call it, are you sure you want to reset the amount to 0? Perfect. So now we have some state and we want to reset it. We'll get this dialog saying, are you sure you want to reset it? You can press cancel and nothing happens. And then you can also press OK and it goes to 0. And there you have it. There's how you set up the local state functionality in our app. Now, in the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to persist the state. So you'll notice that we have whatever amount, and then the second you reload your page, it's all gone. So ideally, we'd like that to stay within your browser so you can actually keep track of how much money you saved. So I'll show you that in the next video. So I'll see you there.